And that's because I'm a psycho myself. And I just thought, I love her work, and I had obviously come up with a big idea. So that's where it led me. And it led me on this incredible journey, which is now morphing to other. So I bought a variety of different things. I bought some of the First World War stuff, but I've also bought some portraits that I'm doing with a different painter. And I'm now working with artists all over the world, and not confined to poetry anymore. And I'm just closing a round of funding for a new business called This Is Wonder, which is a kind of experiential exhibition business where I don't know whether you've ever heard of Dynamo, the magician. He's a very successful magician. He's on my board because we're using augmented reality, we're using virtual reality, we're using magic technology, illusion technology, to be able to put exhibitions together where you come in and you think, fuck, my mind is blown, you know, and that's the idea behind it. So whether we'll be successful, I don't know, but I've felt like that Heinz tomato. I owe a lot to Heinz tomato. It's been a really useful thing for me, and I love it and I loathe it. There was an interesting thing that Ben, sitting at the back, said to me. He said how lovely it was that Trevor and I and other people, everybody here, including you, Superkazi, would come and give of our time and share it. And I said, actually, you have no idea how much I get back from you and how much I get back from the audience, because I've gone from running big companies with if you include the artists that were in my purview, thousands of people that worked with me and for me, if that's the right word, to being literally on my own in a studio and pretty damn lonely. So coming here is actually fantastic, you know, because it reminds me that, and I put a posting up the other day where I said I'm in danger of becoming a man who was rather than a man who is, and I stand by that. I am in danger of that, but this new technology has led me into an area where at 63 years old I'm now a pioneer in a new technology. How the fuck does that happen? You know, where the BBC say I was the first in the world. You know, that's a credit that I didn't make that claim. I'm definitely not the first in the world, but I'm going to hold on to the credit. So I'm going to show you this work, but to say that it is also about entrepreneurialism. It's about spotting. It's a theme that I've come up with for years, which is it's about spotting the luck happening to you. And this is for the younger guys in the audience. I said it on a radio interview, and I know you liked it, Superkazi, which was that one of the things that has frustrated me in my career has been luck walks in the room through that red door, and everybody turns around and watches it, and it's up on the stage. And your job is to jump on the back of it, hold on to its ears, and ride it until it throws you off. But so many people watch it go back out the door again. Yeah. And that I can give you thousands of instances where I've watched careers just doom themselves because people don't trust luck and they don't trust themselves to be able to master it. And all the way through my life, and it's partly because I am definitely a cup is half full guy. I'm always an optimist. Is that it's not a matter of arrogance or self-belief. It's just innate in me that I think things can be done rather than I think things can't be done. And so when I saw this opportunity with augmented reality, I decided that I had to seize the moment. And who knows where it's actually going to take me. This week is reminding me how much I'm missing the music business, quite frankly, you know, so I don't know where that's going to take me. But we're going to show a short film which is kind of instructive. This is what I send to brands. I've worked with people like Samsung, I've worked with Pernod Ricard and various different people. So this film is just a bit of instructiveness about what augmented reality is, and then we'll get into the work. go. So those are the various different projects that I've worked on. But what I love about this technology, I've got a really good one, which was that Scarlett's father. Some of you will remember Baker Street, the incredible Jerry song. The sax part, which was the hook, was played by Scarlett's father, Ralph Ravenscroft. It's a circle, and that's how she knew me, because I was the publisher. And because I felt that his contribution to that song was so phenomenal as a hook, that I persuaded the writers to give him a piece of the copyright, and I think he was sort of eternally grateful for that, because as a musician, you very rarely would get, but that was the hook. And I've completely lost my thread about where I was going with this story.
Scarlett's dead.
Yeah. So but I forgot I forgot what the connection is. Would you like to come up here? No, I've got it again. So Scarlett's dad passed away before it really kicked off. So I remember him sitting with me saying, "You will look after her, won't you?" Because he knew how damaged she was, and her career kicked off after he died, which is I'm terribly sad about. But the point being is that one of the, as considered to be an amazing sax player, he was approached by the originators of the saxophone, which is the Saxe Coburg in Belgium, and these are the people that invented the saxophone. And they had seen Scarlett's work with me, and they came up with this beautiful concept, which was they approached every government that was involved in the First World War, whether they were on the Axis side or the Allies side, so everyone, German, everyone, and they asked them to contribute one shell case of brass. And so all of these shell cases were then melted down, and however many saxophones they could make out of the weight of the shell of the brass were made, and it was about 180, and I've got one of them at home. I can't play a note, but I have one at home. And the keys are all carved from the stocks of World War I rifles, Lee Enfield British rifles. So all the keys are made of wood, and they're completely authentic. And it was on the basis of you shall turn your swords into plowshares, and that was the whole concept, which was a peace project to commemorate the end of the war. And the reason for saying this is that there's a pivotal little piece of mechanics on a saxophone that joins that to make it stable, and it's got a little circle on it. They gave me the circle to deal with. What can you do with the circle? So on these saxophones there is a little poppy, and if you hold your phone up to it, you've got the beautiful black actress Sophie Okonedo doing a poem, and there are birds flying around the saxophone, and there's lovely music, you know. And so my point is, this technology is so amazing. It works on a T-shirt. When you came to my exhibition, for instance, in Belfast at the National Army Museum, my sons and my hopefully soon-to-be daughters-in-law they manned it. So Castle Fine Art paid for them to live over there for 3 months and man it, and they wore a black T-shirt with a dead tree. The exhibition was called The Danger Tree, and there's a particular story for that, but it's so long I can't tell you. So they had a dead tree on there, and just a white tree. And one of the ways that they would warm people up when they came into the exhibition was they would get them to hold the iPad against their chests, and birds would fly around, and music would come, and it was a really great way of being able to get people sort of used to how the technology works, you know. So this technology, I'm looking at it thinking, if it can work on a Heinz tomato ketchup bottle, it can work on a book, it can work on a postcard, it can work on a button badge, you know, it can work. If you had a £10 note in the UK right now, I should have bought one. You hold it up. I have put an anti-Boris Johnson message on there, and even Boris Johnson has one in his fucking wallet, and it tells him that he lied to the Queen by proroguing Parliament. You know, this technology is just powerful, and it's becoming more and more ubiquitous. So You may not know it now, and this may be your first introduction to it, but let me tell you, it's coming at you like a train. Because within 2 years, Apple will have released the Apple glasses, wearables, that will connect to your phone in your pocket, and you will look at one of my paintings, and it will just come alive. And it'll be a real painting on the wall. You'll look at this logo, and it'll give you a piece on whatever it wants to give you. And that's because advertisers want it, frankly. It's not because of me. It's because they want you to walk into John Lewis on Oxford Street and there is a Gucci advert and it serves you Naomi Campbell wearing the, and that's what they want, you know. And it is effectively, we're beginning to walk into Blade Runner territory, you know, those incredible scenes where there's the nude girl, the stripper, and, you know, that is where we're moving. Because at the moment, my work is image-based, but it can be location-based. So at the moment, I have chosen to have the art trigger the augmented reality. But the reality is that you could step out into that quadrangle out there and look in the right direction with your glasses on, and something happens. You know, that's what's coming. And it is going to change things forever. And it's something that we can't stop. And it's interesting that Apple don't believe in the metaverse. Obviously, Facebook do believe in the metaverse, but they're beginning to have their doubts because it's costing so much. But Apple think that merging reality with imagery, which is what this is, augmenting reality, is where it's at, rather than actually taking people out of reality and putting them into a different space. And I'm agnostic on that, except that I'm sticking with augmented reality because I've learned how to do it, and it's good. So anyway, maybe at lunchtime I'll put some of the imagery out, but I feel embarrassed because these are prints. So this painting, this painting here sits in the National Army Museum permanently in their collection. Wow. I'm going to say it again. It is 4 foot by 4 foot. So the dove is an inch thick with paint. You know, it is a physical thing. And also, I had 2 of them in my office at Crown for drying. In my office at Crown, and the smell of the oil paint and the linseed, oh my God, it was just so powerful. So I come in after the weekend, open up on a Monday, and I tap. So the way it works is, can I come up and you can be.
I'm going to pop up.
And I shall show you the way that it works, but you can do this for yourself, and I'll lend everybody my iPad. But this is the way that it works. So I think this is Sophie Oconado as well.
If I should die, think only this of me. That there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be that rich earth, a richer dust sealed.
All of these faces were soldiers that featured in the National Army Museum, so were important to the National Army Museum.
Her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less, give somewhere back the thoughts by England given. Her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter, learned her friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace.
you.
And you have to have headphones on and isolated and be watching a 4 foot by 4 foot painting do that in a destroyed art gallery to get the full experience. So this is a cheap experience, but it's yeah, I'm very happy with it.
So you did the animation?
Yes, I did all the animation, and totally self-taught. I mean, literally hadn't got a clue what I was doing. I just had an idea and thought somebody's got to do it. And that's what I did. But I'm going to show you something different, which I did as well, which is I'm just going to change up the tempo a little bit. So, who should we give you? Kate, what do we want? Kate Bush. We want David Bowie.
Bowie and Kate Bush. We're putting in requests.
Okay. Okay, we've got David Bowie. So this is this painting is with a different painter called Chris Hawkins, who I work with. And this painting is painted on glass. It's an old Victorian technology. And it's very rare that people do it because it's very hard to make oil stay on glass properly. So he's quite a rare artist, and it sometimes causes technological problems for me because reflections get in the way of 3D recognition. But point being is that I really love his work, and again he does exactly the same thing, stop motion. He'll give me an SD card that's maybe got 1,000 photographs of it, of the painting being built, and then it becomes my job to interpret. And so you're going to see a lot of my interpretation here, because this one, he was in such a rush, he gave me only about 300 pictures, which meant that I had 6 seconds of David Bowie animation from him. So that's all I had to work with. So the painting building up from nowhere to David's face lasted 6 seconds. And so then it's kind of like, up to you, Mark, what are you going to do with that? So I'm so sorry to do this to you. So this painting of David is about maybe 4 foot tall again and 2 foot wide, and so here we go, guys. Get ready for a change of tempo. Come on, technology. Oh, it's going to work. You did this. And I'm really pleased the lawyers aren't in the room today. Because I don't give a shit about copyright. I've spent my entire life worrying about copyright. But this painting is sold to one person, and it sits in their living room. And so I'm showing it to you, but I'm the only other person with a print. So anyway, that gives you a... do you know what? You could write a poem in an hour, and you could spend 3 years writing a poem, and it's the same level, it depends. So that one, actually, because some of the background animation I'd come up with before, actually was like just flew off. It just came, that was so much quicker than you think it is. And that's because I'd done so much of the work before putting the two together. A bit like Trevor reusing a cue to support your music. I was actually reusing an animation that I had created for a completely different project, and I suddenly thought, no, I could apply that, you know. And can I show you just my granddad?
Yes.
So, one more. I'm so sorry to do it to you.
It's really fun.
Okay. So, this is actually, again, would be a 4 foot by 4 foot painting, an inch thick. But I've chosen to do my own photographic interpretation because I wanted to show him. So this is Eddie, and this is my interpretation.
Shall I
So,
sing to you?
but it's called "Shall I Sing to You?" But the painting is the actual painting is a floral one, but it serves the same animation. So what you've got on the floral one, and I'll talk about this one. I'm so proud of him, and you have to really understand the story he's talking about. He went over the top, and he's going to tell you, but I just want to say it because it's important. He's going to tell you that the British barrage of bombs was supposed to open in front of them and blow the barbed wire away, and then they were going to walk into Germany. That was it. So it was going to blow all the barbed wire away, and they were going to walk towards the German lines, and they were going to be victorious within half an hour. The reality is the whistle blew, they went up, and they ran about 100 yards, and the barrage opened up behind them, and they were being chased by their own bombs, running towards barbed wire that was still locked, still there, with German machine guns shooting at them. And so this story is that story. And he used to tell me this story. I was the person, I think my father was military. For some reason, when his wife died, I was the person that he decided that he would open up to. And he would tell me these stories, and I thought they were so important to let them be lost, that I got an amazing historian from the Imperial War Museum in London to come and record him. And so they've got 5 hours of recordings of him telling his incredible stories. And this is one of those recordings. So I just chose this one because this was a story that used to make him cry. And the reason that made him cry was that it's about fear. They were so scared. They got to a shell hole before the barbed wire, and their Captain James, was wounded really badly. But he realised that unless somebody went back and told the British to stop bombing their own people, they would decimate everybody. So he asked Eddie to go back, which meant he had to run through the barrage. You've got to think about what he had to do. And there was a guy from the Hampshire regiment that Eddie had never met, again probably about 17 or 18 years old. And I get so emotional telling this. They were so scared that they held hands. Come on, Eddie, behave.
We were all waiting to go over the top. We had to wait until the whistle went. Well, I don't know whether it was mistiming, but the officer blew the whistle, and we went over. Our barrage opened up behind us and followed us, and Jerry opened up the other way, so we were between the two. And you never saw so much carnage in all your life. We only gained about, I shouldn't think it was more than a couple 100 yards. And when we got to the trench, the Captain James was wounded in the stomach. And he said, "Who will go back with a message?" "I will, sir." So, a young fellow from the Hampshire regiment, he caught hold of my hand, and the two of us went like little children through all the shells, and it was amazing. We had a charmed life. We went right through that lot, and all the trouble was, the wounded were calling out, "Come and help me, come and help me," and we couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything about it. I said, I'll get the stretcher bearers up. Couldn't do anything about it. You see, that's what happened. 2 or 3 of us said, come and help me, come and help me. And you couldn't do anything. When I was 17 years old.
I was 17 years old.
Now, shall I sing to you? Across our far-flung empire, o'er land and ocean wide, the song again is ringing that dragging Nelson's day, to wake us from our slumber, from all security, to bid us all make ready, to keep our island free, through
Very powerful.
So that's it, really. Questions?
Powerful. Powerful.
And poetry. It's poetry. It's all about storytelling. You know, that wasn't a poem, but Christ, it's as powerful as any poem, and you hear him talk about it.
Which app is it or program?
I use Artivibe. I started off with Blipper, which was the first one. Their technology was really clunky. They didn't stream. You had to download the film onto your device and then hold it against it, and it filled your. If you got an exhibition with 17 paintings in, it would put gigabytes of stuff into your. And Artivibe streams. So what you're seeing there is just taken straight from the cloud, and it's really nice technology.
Artivibe.
Artivibe. Art lives. So ARTIVIVE. And it's an Austrian company, and they're fantastic to work with. Really.
So how do you do the animation? If you do the animation,
Yeah.
you do to the painting and then add it to Artivibe, or do
Yes,
you add
I do that myself.
it? Okay.
So when Artivibe approached me, they saw my work with Flipper, and they said, "Do you want to try a different technology?" And I did. And I was one of the first 10, and I'm part of their developer team. Like Trevor was for Synclavier, weren't you? You were part of their developer team.
And also Sibelius.
And Sibelius, yes. So this is where you have an opportunity to influence the direction of the app, which was terrific. They now have 247,000 artists that are creating augmented reality art, and I was one of the first 10 to work with them. And that shows you where this is going. But the problem is that people aren't telling stories with it like I do. I tell stories. So what they do, and I'm being flippant, but I'm being absolutely truthful, is that there will be a painting of a cat, and you'll hold your app up to it, and the cat will meow and go, and that's it. And that's your experience. And I just look at this and I think it's just another form of storytelling, you know. And if I make people emotional and make them cry, it's because I'm bottling what Trevor does. That's that cue on Netflix that I talked about, where the music is coming and you know it's swelling, and you know I am telling them what they're supposed to feel through the animation, because the animation is really rudimentary. I know that it's really rudimentary. I'm not Pixar, guys. I'm self-taught, but it's all about trying to inculcate that emotional response where you're using the music to swell it, and the story, the poetry itself is so powerful.
Mark?
So, what are the opportunities for collaboration?
I want to find, you know, that there's a parallel conference going on this week in Cape Town, and yesterday. A very important African curator from England who works at the Commonwealth Institute wanted to meet. She came to my exhibition in London about 2 months ago, and I really want to do one of your poems, but I need to find an African painter, and that's what I was hoping that she might be able to introduce me to, because I can give myself the vaguest credit of being from the African diaspora because my father was Mauritius. That is so vague. That is so vague. So to give it its...
Still valid.
Another item, but let's done. What I'm thinking about, actually, I'm seeing an opportunity here for children's stories.
Oh,
So it's like you know,
I can show you that I'm working on Bendy Banana right now. And Bendy Banana is in England, and he's from a hot country, and he doesn't like being in England, let me tell you. So the mango lends his trousers, and the strawberry lends her scarf to Bendy Banana. And I'm working on that now, because I think it's an amazing thing for children's books.
Mark, I just want to say, in regards to your animation, I kind of do love animation movies, but the best animation that I have seen is actually in a movie called Pink Floyd.
Right. Yeah.
The Wall.
Yes.
In terms of the first iteration of how animation.
Ralph Steadman.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what your stuff reminds me of.
It's really funny. One of my best friends, who is my next door neighbour in my tiny little village, is a guy called Aubrey Powell, Powell. And he was one half of Hypnosis that designed every Pink policy. He took the photograph of the pig over the bridge. He did all the Led Zeppelin sleeves. He and Storm Thornton were probably the most influential designers of their generation. And I feel that my work is really inspired by them over the years. The sort of surrealism in my work is inspired by them. But he loves my work so much that he's asked me to work on a Pink Floyd project.
That's awesome.
But that's not to be going out on the video there. But I'm hoping that comes off. And I don't know where this is taking me. All I know is that to be given an opportunity at my age is brilliant. But I also know it's lonely, and that is difficult. Yeah, but I do. You know, I'm absolutely dead certain that we could do something with one of your poems, with Trevor's composition, and with but we need an African painter to engage with to make it real, in my view, and maybe my role there would just be to facilitate. And it would be your work, as it were. I don't know, but that's how I'm feeling about it. I'd like to make something that feels authentic, you know. And the technique is fucking simple. It's a camera. I'll give you a funny story. When we were, so Scarlett and I didn't know what we were doing. We just had this idea of stop motion, a camera on the ceiling. So the problem was that I was chairman of Crown Talent, and so I had a day job. So I was literally setting the alarm at 5 a.m. in the morning and doing a bit of animation, getting in the car, I was doing 1,000 miles a week up and down the motorway to my office, getting home exhausted, setting the alarm at 5 o'clock in the morning. And at one point I said, stop, just do the paintings and then send them, and I'll take 2 weeks off at the end and we'll get it together. So she sent me a series of SD cards that had 60,000 photographs. 60,000 photographs. Problem was that because oil takes so long to dry, she would have a SD card in the camera up here, and the camera's down there, and then she would paint for 4 hours, lift it, move it, put another one down. I didn't know this poppy painting was not that poppy painting, it was not that poppy painting, it was not that poppy painting. But this one's yellow, I know what this one is. So that was the first of the problems, was that actually working out what I was working on was really difficult. The second one was me. Stupid bugger. I put a zoom lens on the camera. And I forgot, you know, we talked about science this morning? It was gravity. So in the morning, she'd think, that's looking a bit long, that thing. Turn it up. And then by the evening, and that meant every one, 60,000 photographs is going. Okay. Third problem, I didn't really learn to fix the painting in place on the ground. So they're going, this is what they're doing. And then the fourth problem is that she's of your generation, not my generation. So every 10th photograph she goes, I had to look at every picture, and I called it weeding her out. And then sometimes she'd leave a pair of latex gloves for 50 frames, and there's a pair of fucking rubber gloves. And then there's a paintbrush over in the top corner that she's forgotten to take off. And so we learnt a lot from those first techniques. But that totally unlocked, because sometimes there were such significant gaps in the animation where she'd knackered it completely by doing all of this stuff, and I'd knackered it by all of it. But that was when I thought, you know what, we'll go for Sean Bean and Christopher Eccleston and the poet, and then I could distract, I could put their performance into the painting. And that was where it began to turn from being just an exercise in paint into an exercise into storytelling. And that was expediency. That was literally making up for the terrible pitfalls. If I showed you the first 10 paintings, I'm so embarrassed by them. And people bought them, and they bought them all out, and they've got them hanging on their walls, and I'm so embarrassed.
Wow.
So, but the other beautiful thing about this is I've got a Bob Marley painting in here, which you can see at lunchtime, where again it was bought by a customer, the original painting was bought. It's a glass paint, one of the glass paintings. And I always had an uneasy feeling like it's not good enough. And they bought it. And about 3 weeks ago I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a look at it again. And I completely revisited it. I used a lot of the basic animation that I used, but I completely reformatted it and changed it completely. And so these people that have paid their money and it's hanging on their wall, the next time they go back to it, they've got a completely different painting. It's not for Bob Marley, and you can retrofit anything. And so, for argument's sake, so you know, I say I'm not worried about copyright. So I'm not worried about copyright. So let's say I did a U2 painting. Let's say I did a U2 painting and I used an Anton Corbijn photograph, and who's my friend, so he won't come after me. But if Anton Corbijn came after me and said, "There's such a thing as copyright, Mark, you've forgotten." And I'd say, what's the problem? And he'd say, well, on the painting of Bono, you've got one of my iconic pictures from the Joshua Tree. And then I could respond in an email saying, no, I haven't. And he goes back. It's fucking awesome technology. It's an awesome technology. So one of the paintings we did, that the Poppy Appeal in Britain, which is called, yeah, huge. The Poppy Appeal is raising money for you know, good causes and old soldiers. They took one of our paintings and they blew it up 15 foot square and put it in Trafalgar Square. And I was able to take the animation off and put the message that they wanted onto it, just for that 1 week that it was up there. And then put it back and reassemble it, as I said. And it took, doing that, it takes minutes. You know, it's such a beautiful technology.
So you could use subscription if you wanted to sort of do like a series of some sort.
Yes.
And people
Yes.
pay something so to actually unlock the next story.
Well, just to speak of that, I'm working with a young artist, a musician, a girl called Azul Ketch, who's a young black musician in London. And she loves the technology, and what she wants to do is have an album sleeve that is a blog. So every week or 2 weeks, she sends me a clip, and 10 minutes later, the album sleeve has changed. She's got a new video, up it goes. She's written a new bonus track that she wants people to hear. That's where it is. And you could say, well, you could just post that on Instagram, but this is a more engaging way of being able to do it. You know. So yeah, that's where I'm going with it, and I feel my wife thinks I'm absolutely insane.
I like your insanity.
But it's all about what we've talked about. It's about spotting the difference between you and everyone else. It goes back to the main theme of what I talked about yesterday. It's about spotting luck. It's about seizing opportunity and giving it a go. You know, this may not work. You know, I think I'll raise the money. I think it's going to close the deal to raise the money for This Is Wonder, but it may not work. You know, who knows? But I'm certainly going to have fun trying, and I don't feel like I'm wasting my life, and that's really what it comes down to. So that's it.
We all came in here as ignoramuses. We've all got a BA degree in augmented reality now. We're working towards being doctors. Yeah, staying alive, staying alive.